first thing we got to do is take this end cover off. This is where your electrical connections are. There's just the 2 screws here. You can use a quarter inch nut driver or a slot screwdriver. I'm just going to use the slot screwdriver. This is where your starter is and your starter contacts and your starter condenser. So after this end plate's off, we're going to have to undo the 4 9/16 bolts. Notice on these right off the bat there's no washer under them. I would think there should be, but it doesn't appear to be. Next, we'll remove the diffuser. Just keep note, there's a little word that says top there. The lighting's really poor in here, I'm sorry. So we have the capacitor, the starting capacitor, and we have the starting switch. I'm just going to take off the switch so that I can get a wrench in there and catch the flats that are on the rotor. Okay, so I've got the wrench in there now, and it's just a little 7/16, but it just catches 2 flats that are on that rotor shaft, and that'll lock it up so we can spin the impeller off counterclockwise. Okay, so we have this thing now with a wrench holding it. I'm just going to take the channel locks here and just give it a little bit of a tug there. We got her. We'll unscrew the impeller. Okay, this is half the seal, this is the other half. Okay, so just on this 4th bolt here now. These are tough to come out. Wow, really tough. I'm not liking the underside of this pump at all. It's all rusted. I don't like the sound. I don't like the feel of the bearings either. Pull that off of there. Anyways, I'll go ahead and clean this up and see what we can do with it. Just anybody in the future though, you can either take the starting switch out like I did, it's 1 screw, or you can take out this capacitor. Just keep in mind that when you take your power off, that this capacitor still this can be still charged, so you need to short it out. And the configuration of these pins dictates what voltage you're using, either 120 or 240, or 110 or 220, however you want to word it. So I've just went ahead and cleaned up the motor, the casing anyways. I've just given it a bit of a sanding and taped up the emblems and stuff. It's pretty rusted in this back corner here. This back, it's actually the bottom of it, so not much I can really do with that, but hopefully it'll look a little better when it's done. Okay, so we got a coat of paint on this. It turned out pretty good. Just got our 4 pump pieces lined up here and we're ready for reassembly. There's our seal. Didn't turn out too bad. Okay, so we've really just been working on this motor up to now. So we'll go ahead and change this mechanical seal. This is the original problem with the motor. It's leaking water between the pump housing and the motor. And if it does that, it's your mechanical seal. We'll start, it really only has 4 main parts. You have your mounting plate on the right, then you have your seal plate, your impeller, and you have your diffuser. So the mechanical seal that we're going to change are in these 2 parts. It's like a spring-loaded, it's like a graphite material, and this is a porcelain with an outer rubber seal. Those 2 surfaces can't be contaminated in any way, so you don't touch them with your fingers. And if they do get dirty, you go ahead and clean them off. Okay, so for the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this impeller, and you have this older seal here. We're just going to grab it with our hands, just give it a twist counterclockwise and pull it off. That's what the old seal looks like. This second seal out, it's got a little plastic shelf here, or a land that the seal goes down to, so we're just going to flip it over. I have a large screwdriver over here. I'm just going to catch the seal inside of that and give it a little tap. I felt it move there. There it is. That's it for the removal. Okay, so I've gone ahead and put on some of these black gold gloves. It's just to keep my fingerprints off the porcelain. I think of it much as those headlights, you know, very similar to headlight bulbs. You know, you can't touch them with your, it's the oil on your skin and stuff. So I'll just remove this seal. We're going to focus on the impeller right now. And try your best. If you do end up touching that or the porcelain, you know, you just wipe it off. It's not the end of the world. It's just you're trying to, you know, make it as less contaminated as possible. So what I do is I just hold this in my hand like that. And I'll hold the impeller firmly in my left hand and I'll just twist this on. One half on. Oh, one more thing about impellers. If these get damaged, you're going to look for, to inspect these, you're looking for stones or debris inside. You're also looking at these threads in here. This is apparently a weak spot of them. These threads go quite often. So now we'll move on to our porcelain seal. This can be a little tough sometimes, this one. Sometimes you can use a little lubricant around the rubber. But the idea is to just put it in there all the way down to where it sits. I have a little wooden block here that I use. Keep pushing it down. We'll flip it over and see how we're doing. A little bit to go yet. Just working it down with this hardwood block. Flip it over and have a look. So the seal is all the way down, but I'm just going to wipe it just to be sure there's no contamination. We'll do the same with the impeller. We'll start to reassemble the pump. So here's just a quick look at that porcelain seal installed. And again, it mates with the seal, the graphite type seal over here on the impeller. And it's a mechanical seal, meaning that it's moving. There's contact surface between the two, and it still holds water. So. Okay, so we'll get reassembling this pump. Okay, so we'll start our reassembly. This is the top. We'll take our backing plate or mounting plate and we'll look for the top sign. We'll put it up here. We'll line up our 4 bolts. It's got to sit nice and flat, this thing. I actually chased some of these threads earlier. Just because of the corrosion that we were started off with there. I'll make sure these bolts go in first. And tighten them down by hand to start. Okay, we'll just snug them up now in a crisscross pattern. They don't need to be super tight, they just have to be snug. Okay. Piece number 1. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and mount our seal plate, the 2 notches, and our convenient top sign. That'll give us our orientation. It'll fit right in the groove there and it'll snap down, or should. That porcelain seal we put in is just mounting over the shaft now too. There we go, it's in. That's on. That's number 2. Okay, so in order for us to put this impeller on there and hold the armature, I'm going to have to put this motor on its side. So I'll go ahead and do that now. Okay, so I have my wrench in the back and I'll just put our impeller on. Just spin it on there. It doesn't have to be that tight. That's good. Okay, so far we're looking good. We've got our mounting plate bolted on. We have our seal plate in. We have our impeller on. The next is to put on, in the right orientation, our diffuser. That just clips in. Now the only other thing to add is there's a little seal here that we have to make sure is in good condition. And this one seems to be fine. And we'll go ahead, we'll put this assembly back into the plastic housing. Okay, so we have our pump housing back up on the bench. We'll take our pump assembly, our pump motor I should say. We'll just put it into there. We have 4 bolts. Again, I want to note there's no washer. Just putting these in hand tight. Take our 9/16. Gonna snug them up kitty corner. Make everything fit in there nice and flat. To this corner. Snug them up. These were fairly tight when I first took them off, so just keep in mind that everything you're mounting to is as a brass insert into plastic. Okay, so that's the motor mounted inside the housing. Okay, so we'll just put on our last and final piece here, the cover for to cover all your electrical. It's just got 2 screws. And that is it. One rebuilt Hayward 3/4 horsepower super pump. Thanks for watching.